As I began my sermon, a man sitting about two or three rows back from the front smiled, stood up, and walked out of the sanctuary. I was baffled. After the service, I asked one of the ushers if he had seen what had happened, and he said, "Oh, Max," he said, "that's Gilbert. You'll get used to him. He's one of the patients out at the VA." So I put it out of my mind until the next Sunday when I stood up. Gilbert was there in his usual place, and he smiled, but as he started to rise, I smiled back and motioned for him to remain seated. And he did. I put it out of my mind and for the next few days until several days later, Gilbert showed up in my office and said, "Max, can I talk with you?" And I said, "Well, sure." So we sat down and we had what I would call a normal conversation for about 5 minutes or so. And then all of a sudden, Gilbert lowered his voice and started talking gibberish. I had no idea what was happening, didn't understand a word he was saying, but I just smiled and listened. This went on for a long time for me, 5 minutes maybe or more. And then abruptly he stopped, stood up, and in a normal voice said to me, "Thank you, Max," and left. I called Frank, who was a psychiatric social worker at the VA and a member of the congregation, to ask him if he could help me understand what was happening. And he said, "Max, Gilbert is one of our patients who is subject to a kind of schizophrenia, and he's subject to hallucinations. There are several like that. He's not dangerous, and we work with them to try to help them understand when they feel like they're beginning to hallucinate, to try to find a safe place and hopefully somebody they trust that they can talk with." And the fact that Gilbert has been coming to our worship services for quite some time pretty well indicates that he thinks the church is a safe place. And that's a good thing. The fact that he initiated a conversation with you indicates that you are a person he can trust. My suggestion to you is that you don't do anything except what you did. You just listen to him and affirm him. Now, I know next to nothing about schizophrenia, but I well understand that there are times in our lives when our reality is so threatening to us that we would hope for a different reality. And I think that's true under more or less normal circumstances. And we well know that living under COVID-19 is certainly not a normal circumstance. For us to deny that the virus is deadly, I think is both dangerous and downright stupid. For us not to protect ourselves and our neighbors in several different ways, including wearing a mask, I think is ill-advised, and just as dangerous. That we need to find safe places with people we can trust is necessary if we want to live a life worth living, even if we have to do it virtually. And I think that's just as true for us today as it was for Gilbert over 40 years ago. I would hope that as you are hearing this, you can find a safe place with people you can trust so that we can live through this virus into hope. Thank you for listening. Stay safe. Wash your hands and wear your mask. Thank you.